Hey everybody, my name is Gaea, and if you're here watching this video, you've either watched part one of my pregnancy journey, also like my return video because I hadn't made a video in so long, or you've come across it randomly, so welcome either way. This is the second half of my pregnancy journey as well as the first half of my labor story. I really don't want to make videos that are too long, so I'm just splitting them up just so you guys can not be just there bored out of your brains. So feel free to click on the next video if you want to continue hearing the rest of my labor story at the end. So thanks for sticking around, and these photos you guys are seeing at the moment are from a DIY photo shoot quite late in my pregnancy, and the ones at the beginning were from earlier in the pregnancy, around 25 weeks. So they're really fun to do, and we've done quite a few sort of DIY photo shoots, which maybe I could make another video about, like how to achieve that without needing a photographer. Anyways, I hope you enjoy this video, and I look forward to seeing you at the end and in the next video. Alright, see you guys, bye! I'm not sure if I've mentioned yet, I've done so many takes of this, it's not funny. But I have a history of rheumatoid arthritis, so that means that what does this mean? It means that during pregnancy, as with nearly all autoimmune diseases, your condition goes into a type of remission almost, and the symptoms die right down, and you don't have to deal with what you usually deal with outside of pregnancy. So the flare-ups all die down. So for me, when I'm not pregnant, I manage my arthritis a lot with my diet. So during pregnancy, it's like a bit of a free-for-all. And I went a bit nuts on the sweet this time, whereas in my first pregnancy, it was a lot of fatty things. I went to town big time on the sweets. So by 19 weeks, second trimester, I was feeling a lot of kicking, which is just, it's awesome. It just makes everything so much more real. And I don't think there was anything else I just felt big and awkward and everything that comes along with being pregnant. So then by the third trimester, my gynecologist, I'm not sure if I mentioned this time around that I was put through the gynecologists and not the midwives because I was presented as low risk because of my history of rheumatoid arthritis, and I also had hypothyroidism in my first pregnancy rather than hypo, so it was overactive thyroid, which apparently can happen in the first couple of weeks of pregnancy and then it dies down, which is what happened in my first pregnancy. But because it happened, it was just one of the things that I had to tick that happened, plus my rheumatoid arthritis, so then I had to go with doctors instead of just the midwives, just to keep, so that I can stay monitored for whatever risks were associated. But that meant like really long waits, which was a bit of a pain, but I was used to it from the first pregnancy anyway. So come third trimester, my gynecologist was like, it wasn't even like my regular gynecologist, it was, you sort of sometimes see some of the same gynecologists, but generally it chopped and changed. But I'd had this guy a few times and he was like, you're really light, you really should be a lot heavier. And I'm like, I've actually gained 12 kilos. I was so light, I couldn't eat food. You could only eat fruit. And he was like, we'll just do a sizing scan, I think it was, which I'm like, you know what, I'd love to see her again, so that's fine. So I went and did the sizing scan and everything was on, she was totally on track. So then come due date, not even come due date, 4 days pre-due date, basically my labor story. I'll try and say that as quickly as I can. 4 days before she was due, I woke up, which is also 4 days. She was born 4 days before her due date. I woke up and it was probably super early morning, and I felt like a release of fluid, but it didn't feel like a huge gush or there was no pop. It was just a trickle, and it felt more like I was peeing, which can sometimes happen, like in terms of like a little bit of leakage, but there was just something really slightly different about it. But I just put it off as like, oh, it's totally just pee, whatever. But it was really just kind of kept trickling. It was really odd, and so I told Mike, and from that he was like, it's totally. He was just like, I reckon she's coming today. He didn't say that at the time. But then later on in the day, like we were getting ready to go, I think I went back to sleep and then like woke up and I was like, Mike, I probably should start wearing maternity. I feel like I should start wearing maternity pads, just because I don't want to deal with like my water breaking in public. Even though that didn't happen last time, it was like well into my labour in the bath that had happened. And I think we should also probably have the hospital bag in the car, like packed and in the car. Well, that's not a fun noise to record to. And then I was also like, I think we should put the car seat in, refacing car seat in. Yeah, so all those things were said, but none of them were done. We drove off, went to have breakfast together, and we were shopping afterwards in the grocery store, and I was pushing a trolley, and I think all throughout that morning I felt more of this trickling of fluid, and I'm like, oh man, I can really not hold, like my muscles are really weak, Oh man, so loud. My muscles must be so weak that I keep leaking, and anyways, and then I'm pushing the trolley in the grocery store, and then it's just like psh, but there was no pop. And it wasn't, I guess it was noisy, like I was in a shop, lots of like loud music playing, and it didn't gush all over the floor. It was just, I guess because it had been trickling all morning, there wasn't a lot left. I don't know, but it was clearly in my head, my water's breaking, and it was very, very wet. And I think Mike was in another aisle and he had to catch me up, or eventually he figured out I wasn't following, and then he found, and then I was like, can you maybe go organize? He's like, what do you want me to do? And I was like, can you grab some paper towel or something? So then we left, and it was still 4 days out, but I'd wanted to tee up like a little present for Ayana from Eva, just to sort of ease the transition into not being the only baby. And so we quickly grabbed just this little cute tiara and fairy star wand, from the shops, and called the hospital. They called us to come in just because they wanted to check that baby was fine, and then they would just send you home and wait for the contractions. And we were there for so long because little Miss Eva decided she'd be awake, and in her awake periods, she's just been a super active baby the whole pregnancy. So here's me in hospital. I just had the monitor around me, and I was like, Mike, look at my stomach. And it had happened before, probably a few days before, like the night before, I can't remember. But yeah, where my whole stomach was so contracted that you could totally make out her entire body shape. It was crazy. So she was ready to come, but these contractions didn't feel like anything. It was literally just, oh, look down, wow, oh my goodness. Take a photo. Anyway, back to the video. She was like super, super active, even though I don't know if it was just because I was paying a lot of attention, or because my heart rate was up because I was anxious, but she was crazy active, and they were like, she seems like she's not settling. We need to get a reading where her heart rate's like down at this, and like she was super, super active. So they were like, we might have to give you fluids and induce you. So I was like, please just give me 10 minutes, just please. I don't want it, so then she left. She was like, I'll give you just a few more minutes and then I'll come back and plug you back into everything. And she was out cold for 10 minutes. And then as soon as they took the thing off, she was like awake again. So I was like, okay. So they sent me home, and I was like, all right, I read up heaps of stuff. Like, you weren't allowed to do this, you could do that. So I did a lot of bouncing, a lot of dancing, had a shower, cuddling, And yeah, the contractions started with the dancing, and then by the time I'd had the shower and I was in bed cuddling, then it was like full-blown contractions, like proper close, and off we went to hospital. It was around 11 p.m. and she was born around 1 a.m. And pausing in the middle of the story, sorry guys, I really don't want to make the videos too long, so I'm going to cut it off there. And if you want to continue listening, just click on the next video. These are just videos and photos of my pregnancy, just even moving around, tummy shots. Yeah, so enjoy, or fast forward and click ahead to the rest of the labour story. Thanks for listening, guys. See ya.